All right, guys, welcome back to the course. We are neck deep in Facebook ads right now, going through the process of setting up a campaign. So we're going to continue where we left off in the last lecture. That was in the middle of creating a campaign where we just completed the ad set section, defining our audience, budget, and duration. By completing that section, that moves us on to the ad section. Now this is where we can create ads for our campaign and what this lecture will be about. So the ad set and the ad section both correspond to the objective we chose at the very beginning. In each section, it'll show settings and attributes that relate the goal we have in mind. In our example, we said we wanted to drive traffic to our website, so we chose the traffic objective. So in the ad set, we saw specific settings for that goal, and now we're going to see specific options for ads for that goal as well. In the ad section, here are some of the options you might see. We have pages. Now you might be asked to connect this ad to the appropriate Facebook page and perhaps even an Instagram account if you have that. Just pick the right ones that obviously for your situation. Then we have format. Well, you can choose what your ad will look like from a variety of different formats. Now, Facebook offers things like a carousel of images, video, and more. My advice for your first ad, and ours here, is really just to keep it simple for now. You can test that stuff later, but it's not something worth doing right out of the box. Instead, just go with a single image. Then we can learn how to create ads and see how it works, and then you can kind of go back, get more advanced. Now we'll pick that image in one of these settings that's actually coming up. Now first, I want to mention full screen experience, which shows a full screen ad on mobile if used. I'll step through it pretty fast so you can see it, but because it's actually kind of cool if you know for sure that you want a mobile ad experience. You check off add a full screen canvas and then choose one of the three templates. Now the get new customers one is something we can obviously try out. So you choose that and then start filling in the blanks. Like for our service, maybe we offer rides to the football game. Need a ride to the 49ers game if you're in San Francisco? We'll start with that headline and then we'll type in, we'll pick you up, drive you to the game, and then drive you home, all for one low price. So basically it's like Uber for football, okay? If we replace the generic pictures here with more football-y type ones, then we can preview our ad on the phone. Click preview for mobile at the bottom, and Facebook will send you a notification on your phone where you can actually preview the ad. Pretty nice. Again, if you know for sure you want a mobile ad experience. In general, I strongly suggest you play around with this later when you get more advanced. Now, images is in another section in the ad setup, specifically for uploading or choosing the images you'll use in your ad. Depending on your format, you might need one image or many of them. It's best to add your own, and the recommended specs are over on the right. So make sure you upload something that actually will look attractive and not the wrong resolution. It'll look bad if it gets through, but usually they don't even approve those. But if you're feeling cheap or lazy or just not creative at all, Facebook actually has some free stock photos you can use. I don't obviously suggest it, but if you really want to just try this out, go for it. So if I type in football, well, hey, here's a few here I can use for free in my ad. Here's one with a football player on the field that looks, all right, this looks decent. We'll use this as an example. Now, links is another section you might have to set, especially if you're driving people someplace in particular. Now, in this case, I want to push them to a URL where they can learn more about the services I provide or perhaps sign up for a free trial. This is where you'd enter the URL of your super awesome landing page. Putting your homepage URL just drops people on the front door, but a landing page built with this ad in mind will actually improve the chances of getting that subsequent sign up or sale. Again, relates back to that concept we talked about before called conversion set. Now you probably already noticed that here in the links section is where you actually see the preview of the ad you've been planning this whole time. Hooray. Finally, something pretty to look at. Now, by default, you might see the ad in its desktop newsfeed version, but there are actually other versions of it that you can choose from the pull down that's right above preview. Now this is useful because each format is different and different parts of the ad might get emphasized a little bit differently in each case. You'll see what I mean here in a second. Now next to preview is where you can type in your headline and text, and in the case of our football Uber type service, this is what I'm gonna try. All right, need a ride to the 49ers game. We'll pick you up, drive you to the game, and drive you home, all for one low price. And it looks like it actually fit. Now you also get to choose the call to action, which can be a button or a link people click or tap, and again, kind of just depends on the format. In the desktop newsfeed version, the button is in the lower right, but if you switch to, say, the Instagram version, now the action appears under the image to the left. So you want to choose the call to action label wisely. Just pick whatever relates directly to what you want them to do. For me, I think book now could potentially make sense. though learn more is also a pretty good catch-all. It doesn't always have to be buy now, and in fact, if you use buy now and then you go to a page where they do buy it, you call it book, then you will have a massive drop off in conversions. So choose them appropriately. Now, one more thing here in the link setting, you might notice there's an advanced options section. Give it a look because a few things might come up as you're creating your ad. When you enter the URL, the preview for the desktop newsfeed version of the ad might pull some text from the page and put it on the ad, most likely the text description under the headline. If for some reason that text is not a good match for the ad, well, you can overwrite it and type in your own. Now, this makes sense if it's going to just duplicate the text you want to appear above the image, or if it's pulling like a blog post description or who knows what. So under advanced options, start typing in the newsfeed link description and enter your own text, and you'll see it reflected in the preview. Now, you can also replace the URL that appears in the ad with a display-only URL, kind of similar to what we did with Google. Like, for instance, if your landing page shows up with a really weird URL, well, you probably want to just replace it with your main domain. So where it says display link, I'm just going to type in 49ersparkride.com. I don't actually own that domain, but it'd be kind of sweet. Now, this pretty much does it for my ad setup, but keep in mind that if you chose a different objective at the beginning, the ad setup would be slightly different. Like if we chose to drive engagement and get more page likes, well, you'd see options for ad format, images, but then text instead of links because, well, you're driving them to a Facebook page instead of an outside URL. So no links are actually required. So once you finish your work on your ad, make sure to go through those different ad previews to see what it looks like in different formats. You might spot ways where you can improve the text or image, but generally you'll see that they're pretty much the same. When you're good to go, hit the place order button at the bottom and, well, there you go. Now you're a Facebook advertiser. Now, one more thing I'd say before you hit place order is you can preview all the different types of formats, but that doesn't mean that you should advertise on every single format. Some ads will work in certain formats and just not at all on others. Now, it used to be the case way back when Facebook first started advertising, they didn't have newsfeed ads. They had those right column ads where they just show them on the side. That's actually an option now. You can still use those. However, one thing that you need to know is that the click-through rates for those have absolutely plummeted. They're just absolutely atrocious. And I'm not even sure which companies can make those side column advertisements work. So what you could do if you're just testing the waters is try everything and then just see, but just know in advance that certain formats are just going to have they're just going to have different outcomes. Also worth pointing out, if you have something that you want someone to buy or the page that they're going to is kind of involved or they need to type a lot of stuff in, mobile ads generally don't work very well. Mobile ads only work when they're going somewhere simple where they only have to click on one thing. People are just much less likely on their phone to fill out a form or to go through like the purchasing and putting in their credit card and all that. Now, all that really remains at this point is to figure out now, did our ad work? And specifically, did our split test work? Which one did better? Now, my first advice is just give this some time. Facebook ads need at least a day or so to gain enough views and results for you to make an educated guess about how it's going. And if you told Facebook to tell you when a winning ad in your split test can be determined, well, you'll actually just get a notification about it. So obviously, you don't really have to wait for that one. But if you want to look at the numbers yourself, here's where to look. So under Ads Manager, look at the Campaigns tab of the main dashboard. You should see your campaign running there with a pretty green circle right next to it. And that means it's active. And if that's the case, well, you should see numbers in the row under each column. Now, based on the original objective you chose for the campaign, you should see a label there under the results column showing X number of links clicked or X number of pages liked, for example. Well, that number is a good one. Think of it financially. How much did those clicks or likes cost? Look further over to the right and you'll see a number for cost per result. Now, this is basically how efficient your ad was at achieving your goal in terms of the money you spent. The lower the cost, the better for you. When you do find an ad that performs better than another, it's smart to keep running it. And if possible, obviously test it against other versions to see if you can improve on it anymore. Just honestly get in the habit of running split tests frequently so you'll always be able to find new ways of saving yourself money or getting better outcomes as you advertise. Related to this point, if you're seeing an obvious loser in your ads after a few days, well, it makes sense to turn it off. Don't waste your money if something is obviously not working. And at a certain point, there's no benefit to getting the data from it. You've already learned your lesson. So make note of what failed and just move on. Okay, well, there you go. Facebook ad system is really pretty user-friendly. It's certainly more than AdWords in my opinion. And with all the tweaking you can do with audience setup and split testing, you can keep yourself busy running campaigns. Invest some time in it on a regular schedule, run tests, and you should see some results for whatever goal you have in mind.